When I was a kid, I had a lot of hamsters as pets. They're so cute and lovable until they bite you with their fangs. While Rattata and Raticate aren't based on hamsters, I'm surprised I didn't fall in love with them as a kid just because of the similarity. Maybe it's because they were too common and they're just everywhere on Route 1 and they're generally thought of as weak and useless. But maybe that isn't the case. They certainly have some powerful fangs like their hamster brethren. Today I'm putting the rats to the test to see how this rodent does in a solo playthrough of Pokémon Yellow. One of my patrons, House of Stark, has been requesting this run for a while, so this video is dedicated to you. Thanks so much for your support. The rules for the playthrough are, I'll only use my starter in battle, no items in battle, no exploits or glitches with the exception of the badge boost glitch, and no double team. After the first few battles, I noticed how strong Rattata is for an early game Pokemon. Its 56 base attack and 72 base speed makes it hit hard and have a roughly 11% chance to crit. Its Dismal Special isn't relevant right now in this pre-Brock portion of the game. That's mostly because there aren't any special attackers. Yeah, not a single NPC's Pokemon learns a special attack until this last in Mount Moon. I face the optional rival, so Jolteon will be a part of his champion team. While the electric punk rock dog is fantastically fast with a massive special stat, it also means that his team features the brutal obstacle course that is Executor, Cloyster, and Ninetales. After 2 Leers, Peck does 60% damage to my rat. Well, that's not really good. Eevee comes out and immediately starts to use Tail Whip. I just need to avoid sand attacks and tackle. Today, luck's on my side and the rat manages to achieve victory. With Bud out of the way, I head north to the forest without healing. There's no need to with the impressive PP that Quick Attack has. With Rattata, it's a great move. It has priority, 5 more base power than Tackle, 100% accuracy, and the same type attack bonus. That makes it a 60 power move after the 1.5 times modifier is applied. While it is strong, it's not going to be enough to be effective against Brock. For him, I'll need the next move that Rattata learns, Hyper Fang, and it's so broken in the early game. 80 base power and stab. The only downside is that it's 90% accurate. Learning it takes some time because Rattata is part of the medium fast experience curve, which despite the name medium fast is middle of the pack for early game leveling rates. At this level it requires more experience than the medium slow, fast, and fluctuating curves. The slow and erratic experience curves are the only two that take longer in the early game. I wonder if Game Freak made these design choices so Rattata with Hyper Fang would be excellent early on and then fall behind due to the level curve. That's one way to ensure that it gets boxed early on. At level 14 I attempt Brock for the first time. My first use of Hyper Fang does half damage to Geodude due to a critical hit, and I'm able to knock it out in only 3 turns. So that's a surprise. I didn't think Rattata had this sort of performance in it. Onix is next, and this snake is hard. It's got 160 base defense after all. I miss first turn, it screeches, I deal a small amount of damage, and then it screeches again. Third turn it begins to set up Bide, and this gives Rattata the opportunity to lower its defenses with Tail Whip. I was holding my breath on the next few turns. After all the screeching, Rattata's very weak. I need to avoid taking damage. Again mirroring the optional rival fight, the rat gets good luck and pulls a victory off. On Route 3, Hyper Fang shreds through all the weak Pokemon, giving Rattata amazing momentum. In Mount Moon, I pick up the TM for Water Gun and learn it immediately. This is going to help against rock-ground dual types like Geodude. I grab the Dome Fossil, exit the cave, and battle the Nugget Bridge rival. Once again, this fight gets tense at the last Pokemon. I was hit with a sand attack when facing the Demon Sandshrew. Without 100% accuracy as a starting point, I'm frequently missing with Hyper Fangs now. My low defense stat and HP also don't inspire confidence either, but Rattata again, with luck on its side, pulls through. A few moments later on Nugget Bridge it evolves. The stat upgrades are great, 81 attack and 97 speed, also 50 special, that's more than Kangaskhan has. Not bad, Raticate, not bad. I guess after so many science experiments, this mutant rat is ready to use its powers of electricity and ice to defeat its enemies. Misty has good AI, causing her to select moves that have a type advantage against the player's Pokemon, but normal type is only weak to fighting moves. If there isn't a super effective move available, then the trainer will just randomize between neutrally effective moves. This is an advantage for Raticate. Starmie uses Harden because it's a normal move, and the AI thinks that it's neutrally effective, so I just knock it out second turn. I teach Raticate Dig and then proceed to battle one of the most annoying trainers in Kanto. This lass is starting to reach the tier of the self-destructing hiker and the Hypno Rocket. She's got 3 Pidgeys, and all of them know Sand Attack. I haven't shown much footage against her in previous videos, but so many times I find myself in extremely long and tiring fights against her where I constantly miss due to the sand spraying birds. These are made worse by the fact that I'm usually trying to dig back to Cerulean. If I'm going to avoid healing in the Vermilion Center, I need to conserve my PP. Lucky for Raticate, it easily knocks out all of our Pidgeys due to its high attack and speed. On the SSN, I upgrade from Hyper Fang to Body Slam. 5 more base power, 100% accuracy, and 30% chance to paralyze. This is going to be Raticate's go-to stab attack. Surge is next, and he's got a mouse on his team. And maybe Raticate is a bit self-conscious because it never became the series mascot like Pikachu? What if this poor little thing is just looking at itself in the mirror and wondering why its cool fangs never impressed people the way that Pikachu's lightning bolt tail did? Maybe that's why Raticate can learn Thunderbolt. It's just trying to do its best. Today it knows Dig, and that allows Raticate to easily one-shot the Raichu, providing evidence that rats are actually superior to mice. I dig back to Cerulean, grab the bike, and take it on a spelunking trip. Because I read all the comments, I've seen a few people asking why I don't use the bike more in my playthroughs. Honestly, on 4x speed, it's hard enough to have the correct motion in the overworld. And the added speed of the bike makes moving around precisely nearly impossible. When I started making these videos, I just decided to never use it. Perhaps one day I'll make the highly requested bike versus no bike video, and see just how much time the bike really shaves off of a playthrough. In Celadon, I grab Super Repels and then the TM for Ice Beam. There's this interesting tension during an initial playthrough with a new Pokemon between learning new powerful moves right away or saving them for later. So right now I could learn Ice Beam, or I could just keep it. In my initial attempts, I default to saving it for later because learning it too soon can result in a disaster. If I taught it now, I'd have to keep it until the end of the game or remove it and risk not having it when I need it most. This thinking sometimes leads to overly cautious play, but today that isn't the case. I'll explain why later. I make a brief stop in the Rocket Hideout to pick up the TM for Double Edge. In hindsight, I could just skip this and save time. I thought the extra base power might be needed at some point, but I ended up never using it. I really hate recoil damage after all. In Pokemon Tower, I sweep through the rival's team with ease. While that's the normal result for this fight, Raticate is actually really impressing me. Its time is much better at this phase of the game than I thought it would be. Maybe people should start giving this rat a bit more credit. We wouldn't want it to develop a toxic overeating habit after all. In Silph, I start to get carried away with training. Honestly, I'm just having a lot of fun with Raticate. Also, I want to be a decently high level for the league. Those strong special attackers are a bit intimidating. I also spend some time picking up and selling high-priced items along the way. I want to leave Hyper Beam on the table just in case Raticate begins to struggle later on. But against Erika, I'm not going to. My overtrained rat is really amazing. It's like a maze rat that's learned exactly how to get the cheese. In this case, Erika's grass types are in the way, so it has to go straight through them. I'm also starting to feel like a maze rat myself. I spent a bit of time adding up all the Kanto playthroughs I've done over the past 6 months. Guess how many? 55. 55 complete Kanto playthroughs. I head south and pick up vitamins in the Safari Zone and then speed through the jugglers in Koga's gym. The ninja himself opens with Venonat. Do rats eat bugs? Oh hey, they do! Nice! Raticate's at the bug buffet today and easily takes out the first 3 Pokemon on his team. Venomoth is next, and I'd be scared if this was a poison type because rats and poison tend to not mix well together. But luckily this impressive behemoth is a psychic grass type, so Raticate has nothing to fear. The moth tries to use poison in the form of toxic, but it isn't working because it doesn't get stab. I've put off the Silph rival battle until now. He can be really scary, and I want Raticate to have a good chance against him. In preparation, I teach Raticate Thunderbolt, giving my rat the electric powers it's always dreamed of. However, they are not going to be useful right away against the Sandslash. Ninetales is next, the rat digs, and the fiery fairy fox faints. Now it's time for Cloyster, and this is the rival's most scary Pokemon. Clamp is just terrifying. I added Thunderbolt to my moveset just for it. I use it, and it knocks the Shellfish out in a single hit. The next 2 Pokemon are scary in solo playthroughs because of their high speed stats, but Raticate doesn't have a problem today. It's got a high level, good stat experience, and decent base speed, and that's the recipe for success. While Raticate completely obliterates Blaine, let's take a moment and reflect on the fact that it has no resets so far. I know I've got better at these challenges lately, but still this is really surprising. Speed, attack, normal type, and its learn set, they're all just synergizing together to make Raticate a really intimidating Pokemon. I'm only 5 to 8 minutes behind Tauros and Kangaskhan's times. Yeah, Raticate is doing really well. Sabrina's next. Psychic types are weak to the common human fears, bugs, ghosts, and the dark. Game Freak forgot about one thing though, rats. A lot of people are terrified of rats. Bye bye Alakazam. Raticate is faster and stronger than you. Giovanni's the last gym leader. My only fear in this fight is the Nidos, who both know double kick. Nidoking specifically gets critical hits semi-regularly, and that could be devastating. Additionally, I did a bit of research, and it turns out that the Nidos might be based on hamsters or mice, so Raticate's got a bone to pick with these inferior rodents as well. He wants everyone to know that he's the biggest, baddest rodent of them all. I foresee a tense competition in Generation 2 on the horizon. Dig doesn't knock the Nidoqueen out, and it strikes back with double kick, dealing 30% damage. A critical hit from Nidoking might finish me off, but Raticate's Dig gets the critical hit instead and knocks the hamster out. Rhydon's last, and I've saved Bubble Beam just for this. Despite the rat's low special stat, 4 times effective damage does the trick. The gym challenge is complete. All that remains are the 6 most powerful trainers. Sorry, actually the 5 most powerful trainers. I don't know what I was thinking there, I got my numbers all mixed up. I really didn't think my first playthrough with this rat would be so dominant. Like, I know I keep saying that, but like, honestly, this is versus worthy. I intentionally made this a solo playthrough because I didn't think that the rat would stack up particularly well against Pokemon like Primeape, Poliwrath, Hypno, or Rhydon. Maybe I was wrong though. I'm open to the idea of replaying a solo run as part of a future versus video, so maybe all of you have some ideas who Raticate could go head to head with in the future. So I've arrived at the league. Why haven't I got Hyper Beam? That's a question that I get a lot. The short answer is that in versus videos, I'm aiming for the fastest possible completion time, and buying coins takes too long. But today I'm not competing for time, so I'll test it out. Buying the coins for Hyper Beam adds an additional 3 minutes and 31 seconds to the clock. So we can see that under versus conditions, this just isn't worth it. Even though Hyper Beam's very strong, it won't allow me to win back that amount of time during the league, so it'll result in an overall slower time. But with a weaker normal type Pokemon like Raticate, I think that it actually might be required. Lorelei opens with Dugong, the Sleepy Seal. Raticate's Thunderbolt isn't dealing the most inspiring amount of damage. I think we know why Pikachu is the mascot, but it's at least in 2-hit range. Cloyster's next. Thunderbolt connects, and the shell survives, and starts to clamp. I hate this move. It's honestly the worst. It lasts for 3 turns, and then I strike back and finish the Cloyster off. Raticate's at 63% health. In a rare and surprising turn of events, Slowbro doesn't forget everything, and it decides to use Surf instead, dealing 29% damage to Raticate. I get a critical hit next turn and finish it off. Jinx isn't fast enough, and that leads to Lapras. I try Thunderbolt, and the lake monster shrugs it off. It uses Blizzard. Please miss! But I don't get that luck this time. Raticate faints. That's its first reset. I try again, and this time I use Hyper Beam against Slowbro to ensure that I knock it out second turn. I should have used Body Slam against Jinx though, because the beam misses and Raticate gets punched by the Kissing Psychic's icy fists. I still do manage to make it back to Lapras though. I cross my fingers and hope that Hyper Beam will get the job done in a single hit. After all, it does get Stab, but it doesn't, and that means that I have to recharge, and Lapras uses Body Slam twice, knocking Raticate out. Okay, I'll try one more time. I'm able to arrive at Lapras in the third fight with green health. Maybe I can survive Blizzard this time. Okay, not this time. But that knocked Raticate out because it got a critical hit. One more time. If this doesn't work, then I'll go and level up. I make it back to Lapras with green health. I use Thunderbolt, get a critical hit, but the monster survives. Lorelei selects Hydro Pump, and Raticate survives. I use Thunderbolt again, and that's it. 4 attempts, and now I'm moving on to the Hiker. He opens with Onix, and Raticate doesn't really have a fast way to defeat it because I gave up Bubble Beam for Hyper Beam. That's not the best beam trade, honestly. I should have just saved Hyper Beam until Lance now that I think of it. Hitmonchan is next. It survives and then uses Ice Punch. Oh no, please not a freeze. Okay, it doesn't, and Raticate takes it out. That would have been really embarrassing to lose to this Hiker. The second Onix deals a bit more damage to Raticate, and I make it to his ace, Machamp. Body Slam does good damage, and then the 4-armed fiend retaliates with Submission? What? Okay, so I guess I need to pay some respect to Bruno today. Unfortunately, in the second fight, I've still taken damage when Machamp comes out. Bubble Beam would have been really helpful here to prevent damage at the Onixes. I try for Hyper Beam, but Machamp survives with a sliver of health. Oh no, not again. Please. It uses Submission, but Raticate survives. But I still got a recharge. Oh yeah, wait, recoil damage from Submission, and that causes Machamp to faint. Okay, good. So yeah, this victory is just proof of how bad Submission is. I hate that move. I arrive in Agatha's chamber, and I realize that I accidentally didn't withdraw my elixirs from the PC, so I'll have to make the rest of this league attempt work without replenishing any. Luckily against Agatha, Dig is good. Yeah, it's really good. Lance is next. I teach Raticate Blizzard for this fight. The extra base power makes up for my low base special at the cost of some accuracy. Thunderbolt's doubly effective against Gyarados, but it doesn't knock it out. Raticate takes some damage as a result and arrives at Aerodactyl with 77% health. Alright Rat, summon a Blizzard. Aerodactyl survives the snowstorm, and Lance uses a Hyper Potion. I attempt it again, Aerodactyl survives, and does some damage with Swift. Next turn, I finish it off with Thunderbolt. All I need to do is connect with Blizzard for 4 times damage against Dragonite. But I miss. The dragon hits Fire Blast and Raticate survives with 45 hit points. Nice, it actually tanked that decently well. I've got no PP left on Blizzard though. More PP problems. That's just my life, I guess. Maybe my beam is going to be strong enough though, but the dragon survives, and it goes for Fire Blast again, and misses. Okay, please, one more miss. But it doesn't, and the rat faints. For the next fight, I teach Raticate Ice Beam for the improved accuracy and the bigger PP. Small PP bad, big PP good. But doesn't make this fight easier. Along the way back to Dragonite, I actually end up freezing the Dragonair and the Aerodactyl, so that's some really nice luck. I've arrived here with full health. I use Ice Beam, but Dragonite survives. It retaliates with Fire Blast, gets a critical hit, and burns Raticate. But the improved accuracy and Raticate's speed allows me to secure the victory. All that remains is Butt. He leads with Sandslash, and Earthquake's a decent threat for Raticate, but he doesn't choose it, and I knock the Shrew out over 2 turns. Alakazam's next. I outspeed with Body Slam, and the Psychic Fox faints. Now it's time for the ultimate troll, Executor, and it loves to set up Leech Seed for the rest of his team, and this makes the multi-turn moves like Clamp and Fire Spins significantly more dangerous. One thing that usually makes it even more intimidating is the fact that this thing can tank hits really well. I think that it's in 3-hit range for Raticate, but then a lucky crit finishes it off on the second turn. Cloyster's next, and with Clamp it's the scariest team member, but a critical hit finishes it off as well. I'm getting some great luck. Now all I need to do is just outspeed the last 2 team members. Funny enough, actually Ninetales survives the first hit, but I finish it off the second turn. Will I outspeed the Punk Rock Dog Cat Fox thing? I do. Dig grounds it, and the electric type faints. Raticate did it. It beat Pokémon Yellow, and I honestly think it did it in impressive fashion. 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 58 seconds, with only 5 resets. While this is a good time, I wonder if it could have been faster if I didn't obtain Hyper Beam. It didn't actually end up adding much to my League playthrough. So to test this, I used a copy of my save file that I created when I arrived at the League before buying Hyper Beam. So this attempt starts at 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 58 seconds. Raticate ends up struggling against Lorelei here again. I incur 4 resets in total in this fight. That's 1 more than the last League attempt. Against Bruno, the 2 League playthroughs tie up for resets because he doesn't finish me off this time. All is right with the world. Agatha's next. I need to stop talking about her whenever I have a ground type move. Up next on her team is Golbat, and Lance is next. I choose to use Blizzard this time. I want to mention that I intentionally didn't bring an elixir with me this time. These 2 attempts need to be comparable after all. I did have 2 PP ups last time, and I didn't use them, so this time I end up using them. I sweep through his entire team with ease, and the rat's back to the champion again. During this fight, I realize how well Raticate stacks up against his entire team. Blizzard for Sandslash, Body Slam for Alakazam, Body Slam for Executor, Thunderbolt for Cloyster, and Dig for Ninetales and Jolteon. Raticate finishes them all off and clocks in with a time of 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 9 seconds. Also, I had 1 less reset than my previous attempt, but I think that's mostly related to skill and luck. So Hyper Beam really didn't improve Raticate's League run in any meaningful way. When I skipped it, I was able to clock in 6 minutes and 53 seconds faster. Honestly, I think this is usually just the better choice. I haven't mentioned it yet, but there's also another hidden downside to obtaining the powerful beam. Throughout the playthrough, I spent time picking up and selling items for Pokedollars. If I skipped these items and the mart trips, I could have clocked in even faster. So there's still more time on the table that could be shaved off Raticate's playtime. So now it's time for some science. I love me some science. Lorelei has been inconsistent in both League attempts, and I want to figure out exactly how to make her more consistent. I also want to test Raticate against the other powerful League members. Powerful, like Bruno's part of that group. I don't know if that feels wrong, and see how I can make this entire League run as consistent as possible. Here's my methodology. I need to win 5 times in a row, and I can lose once because of bad luck. If I lose in a straight up fight, I'll reset the counter and adjust my strategy or level up. At level 62, 4 levels higher than previously, I managed to defeat the Ice Master 5 times in a row. I did lose once during this, on my second fight, due to an unlucky freeze. Lorelei's always slightly inconsistent because of this, unless you can one-hit all of her Pokemon, that is. Honestly, most Pokemon can't do that though without being very overleveled. Bruno's next. I can't believe I'm gonna do a consistent league test against him. I never thought I'd see the day, but I want to confirm that the one loss that I had was a fluke. This test is a risky way to save my ego from that eternal embarrassment. 5 victories in a row. It's actually pretty easy to pull off this time. Sometimes Machamp does take Raticate down to very low red health, but at this slightly higher level, Bruno doesn't have quite what it takes. So he's being demoted back to hiker status for now. Lance is next. Once again, Raticate sweeps through his entire team with ease. 5 victories in a row aren't an issue. No losses due to luck either. Turns out that Blizzard is fine against him. But remember when I mentioned not using TMs too early when I first picked up Ice Beam? Yeah, that matters now, against the champion, who was particularly easy in both of my previous attempts. But now I'm struggling. I do manage to win a couple of times, but it just feels so rocky. If I was playing a solo playthrough Nuzlocke, not like there are any plans to do anything like that, I wouldn't be confident going into this fight with the current level and strategy, so I really do need to investigate and find another plan. The thing that changes everything from being inconsistent to consistent is using Ice Beam instead of Blizzard. A miss here or there in the champion fight is devastating for Raticate's chances. It loses health, and without a move slot for recovery, the fight spirals out of control. With Ice Beam, I can defeat him 5 times in a row without a single luck-based loss. If I had taught Raticate Ice Beam earlier in the playthrough to make, say, Erika easier, I would have likely replaced it with Blizzard at Lance, and then I wouldn't have had the ability to use it against the champion. Saving the TM for as long as possible allowed this move change at the last minute, and that really did make all the difference. Soon the starters are coming to Kanto for the Ultimate Showdown, so subscribe and ring the chime echo to be notified when that video drops. Leave a comment because I gotta read them all. Also, a huge thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. You're making my dreams come true. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. Now, it's bloopers time. You know what I didn't do before this video? I didn't look up how to say Rattata, because I don't think it's Rattata frittata. I think it's like Ratata? Ratata? It's so weird. I used to say Ratatata, and then I said Rattata, and now I have to say Ratatata. Ratatata? Rat-ta-ta. Rat-ta-ta. Ratata? I don't know how to say this one. This one's hard. Okay, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna see what they say in the anime, and then I'm just gonna go with that. What is this? Chocolate vs. real food challenge? Sweet war? Oh, this looks so cringy. What is this? 4.16 million subscribers? Oh my gosh, I'm wasting my life. Oh, this is what I gotta make. This is the content. Rattata? Ratata. This is gonna be the entire bloopers. It's just gonna be me sitting here trying to figure out how to pronounce this thing's name. Why didn't I just start with Raticate? If I started with Raticate, this wouldn't be a problem. After the first few battles, I've noticed how strong Ratata. I just can't do this line. This is like, oh gosh. After the first few battles, I noticed how strong Ratata. Okay. Third turn, it begins to set up Bide, and that gives Ratata. Every time I say Ratata, I just can't do it. I swear, this thing is Ratatata.